And so what we have today is the first 2 days we talked about the player blueprint, then we talked about the game model, why those things are necessary, how they may interact, right? And I guess the first step of implementing analytics and data into your game is you have to have key performance indicators, right? We have a bunch of videos on our YouTube channel about KPIs, but the most salient one is efficiency, or what the efficiency rating might be. Understanding that soccer is a weakest game, you kind of get a handle on taking each individual performance and multiplying it across the whole system, right? So not only is it a weak game, it's an exponential game in terms of events have exponential impacts, right? So what that's going to mean is that it's a no mistakes game, right? And think about that in terms of how players approach the game, right? Mistakes have outsized impacts. And what we're looking at is comparing the rate at which good things are happening to the rate at which bad things are happening, and then measuring those two things, giving them a weighted value that reflects the underlying math of the game. And you can do statistical regressions. Anyway, all that's on our channel already, right? But what KPIs give you, if your KPI is efficiency, I suggest some kind of efficiency rating. There are other ratings like packing ratings, although kinds of methodologies do tend to distort or deviate from the actual math of the game. It's not a sum of the parts game. It's not basketball. There's a lot of luck involved. And what you need to measure is the overall impact on the team of a player's performance, not just adding all the different performance divided by 11. That's not going to yield reality. So the packing model or the conventional, what's called GPET model, might not yield or be as predictive as an efficiency rating, right? So a lot of the background in this, coaches like Bielsa, Lebanovsky, did a lot of work on implementing these types of models. Only there's 4 or 5 top-level Premier League clubs, Brentford, Man City, that ring a bell, that have really gone all in, Brighton, especially into recruiting on these types of models, right? But what is driven by is KPIs, right? Key performance indicators. What are the good things you have right? What are the good things you want to go right? And you measure them, and you compare the rate at which good things happen to the bad things happen, or you measure the rate of successful things to unsuccessful things. And so you got to kind of have an idea of what the success are. I think that culturally we tend to shy away from possession and understanding the value of possession, especially in youth soccer, and try to overemphasize direct play. And so the packing statistic, some coaches count number of passes forward, other coaches count passes that split lines, they deduct passes going backwards, right? And they deduct an intercepted pass backwards is somehow a mistake or some kind of that, a mistake that's out of the ordinary, right? And so everything's given this sort of forward backwards kind of modality. The only indicators that seem to be important are entry into the box, right? The game really does skew. So it's not that the game's right, right? It's that does the value added to the possession result in a value added box entry, right? And by the same token, going the other way, right? Does the loss of possession result in some kind of counterattack that results in a box entry, right? And ultimately, that's what you got to be measuring, right? Doesn't matter the pass breaks lines. Doesn't matter the pass is direct and go forward. Doesn't matter if anyone was open and missed, right? Unless the player was open and missed, had a clear route into the that attacking area, the box, right? Into the top parts of the attacking third, right? So it leads you into good box entries. And so a lot of this is subjective, right? But once the numbers get big enough, right, over games, you kind of get a feel for which passes are more valuable than others, and then you start tracking them, right? And using an arbitrary number. Packing was a number that came up in English football maybe about 20 years ago, where they started counting the number of defenders that were bypassed for some reason. Or they counted the number of players that were bypassed, and then you got a certain number of points for breaking a line if that occurred. So again, the deliverable of a KPI, the deliverable of analysis is that what is really valuable is position that results in box entries, right? So it's the value add of possession. And there's been a mathematical model, a metric, that measures passes based on their value added possession. And those passes backwards. If you're being pressed by two guys and you draw the defense and you pass back and then the next pass goes forward, the value out of the possession has resulted in a positive outcome. And that's what you got to measure. So those are the kinds of things you might miss, right? And the KPIs, the value added possession, and the focus on another KPI, box entries, right? Or another KPI, measuring the press, measuring retention when faced with a press, right? All those things, or the intrinsic value of possession itself. Possession has an intrinsic value in this sense. It denies the other team the ball. They can't score. They need the ball to score. So as long as you have the ball, there is a certain amount of possession. Oh, sorry about that. There's a certain amount of possession that results in intrinsic probability, especially if you're ahead, right? And so another KPI might be, how do you turn possession into, rather than just denying the other team the ball, how do you make it where possession has some attacking value? And what the KPI are indicating is that speed of play, like the number of passes per minute in possession, and the complexity of the passes. So a lot of times the pass may be A to B, B to A, or some kind of set fluid automated pattern. And Escandinha, La Balanza, those are the things. So speed and complexity added to possession, and possession's KPI itself, leads to a principle of play that possession now becomes more attacking, right? Sure, denies the other team the ball, that has a positive impact on the win percentage formula, but now the underlying attacking, you're attacking in a way that's defensive, you're denying the other team, but then you're also optimizing the attacking value of possession itself. So, once we put KPIs in place, we have the blueprint, we have the game model, we have those formulas that calculate win percentage. And once we put efficiency KPIs in place and deliverables in place, right, we looked at our style of play and what kind of KPIs, press triggers, our response to game conditions, right? Were we just playing man? Were we just playing zone? In what circumstances, right? And we discovered that press triggers, rather than playing man zone, shifting between man and zone based on press triggers was more efficient, resulted in better results. When we changed to try and manage games, it didn't work, right? So our KPIs were better. We stick within a certain attacking profile. Use the goalkeeper to attack, a big one. Using the goalkeeper and build up in possession, a big, right? Making sure that the forwards can press trigger and defend is a big one, right? Especially the goal piece. Using the goalkeeper in build up to support build up, but more importantly, using the goalkeeper to attack, major KPI, right? And the importance of set plays. So set plays are an execution of routine, a set play routine. Other set plays an opportunity to leverage the meta, right? It gives you an opportunity of establishing a high possession game because you have control, not just high possession in terms of number of possessions, but high possession in terms of like what's your shape, and you're trying to maintain pressure far away, high up away from your goal, right? So an inbound or a throw in or whatever it is, even a corner kick, might be more valuable just in pressure retention and shape because you have control to build that shape and how you match the other team, right? So rather than do a set play routine on a corner kick, maybe you're playing short and now your personnel is positioned to better attack the zone or the defense that the other team is presenting you with, right? Maybe you're just better off possessing the ball. So yes, we have player identity in place, we have a blueprint, we have tactical identity in place, and we have to measure, right? And so I am going to do a shout out here to our sponsor, TouchLink, TouchLynk.com. TouchLink.com is our data provider. We're able to take the KPIs that TouchLink gives, and we're able to upload our game model, upload our player blueprints, and then ask our AI, www.TheTacBot.com. You can see us doing it on the channel. We can then ask the AI how we're performing, given what we're trying to do with the player blueprints, how different players are performing, whether or not we're executing our game model, and whether or not we're imposing our style, right? And then you can ask it what you have to do to improve. So that's the process, right? Check back with us on the YouTube channel for more of these components that we're talking, and we'll have links in the description to videos and tools that you can use. But more importantly, if you go to TheTacBot.com, index of videos is up there as well. You can ask the TacBot about those that match certain questions you may have about blueprints, game models, and that kind of thing. All right, guys, thanks a lot.